Like until the Explorer blew up. I think that was the name. I think that was the name of that rocket.
That's the Challenger, bro.
Challenger. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Bro,
Sorry, I
you
apologize.
fucking failed American history, didn't you? Welcome everyone to Cinema Regulars, the movie review show where we see so many movies in theaters that the employees know us by name and they don't ask us what movies we're seeing, they ask us how many. Now, first of all, I'd like to take a minute to welcome all the new subscribers we have flooding into our channel. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing. We're trying to get our numbers up. So today we have a pretty big list of movies we're looking at. So we're going to be starting off with A Quiet Place Day 1. And we'll be moving into Fly Me to the Moon. Then we'll be checking out a movie that kind of flew under our radar and we only got into it last second, called A Sacrifice. And then we'll be finishing off with The Exorcism. Alright, so without further ado, let's roll right into A Quiet Place Day 1. Isaac, take us away with the description.
When New York City comes under attack from an alien invasion, a woman and other survivors try to find a way to safety. They soon learn that they must remain absolutely silent as the mysterious creatures are drawn to the slightest sound.
I mean,
Uh,
they kind of say that like you have never heard of A Quiet Place before.
yeah, it kind of that's kind of like the description kind of just is predicated on the fact that you haven't seen it.
It's true. Well, it's kind of fair because I feel like you can watch this one first. Like you can watch it on a timeline. Like you can start with Day 1 and then watch A Quiet Place and then Quiet Place 2, and it'll fit pretty well because they don't do a whole lot of like callbacks to the first and second one.
No, they don't. It's actually almost better. Like if you
Yeah,
watch this,
yeah,
because like all these characters are fresh. Granted, there's only one character from this movie that is in a later movie,
yeah, but he's kind of
but
inconsequential in this movie, so like you could kind of take it or leave it, and literally the only thing that would happen is um where if you watched Quiet Place Part 2 first and then watch this, you go, "Oh, it's that guy from Part 2." But then if you watch
yeah,
it with this one first and Part 2 last, you would just be like, "Oh, that's the guy from Day 1." It would literally be the
yeah,
same reaction,
I guess, yeah,
just reversed. But I think it fits really well on the timeline. Um
it does. It really, really, it's a really good one, especially because like it's an interesting thing because part two gave us what day one was like for the family in the first movie,
yeah.
and obviously the second one, but that it kind of showed us what it was like in like a rural area
Yeah.
versus this is a massive city that is
This is New
constantly
York
making
City.
noise. Yeah, like it even says it like right at the beginning of the movie that New York City gives off on average 90 decibels, which is the same as a constant scream, which is which was really cool to see. Like that's a very cool way of thinking of a city.
Yeah. Especially New York. I thought this was a really good like sequel. And in like the phrasing of like a lot of times when they do a sequel movie, it's like A, we didn't need this. B, it's not as good as the other ones. But this one gave us like a really fresh look at this happening and a different look at the monsters in general. Um,
Yeah,
as well as I think Day One is definitely not as good as the original one, but I think it was definitely more interesting and more engaging than Part Two. Um, one
yeah,
of my main one of my main takeaways from this was how mass swarms of these things act and move.
Yes.
Like as all the survivors are like hunkering down and like in hiding, helicopters are flying overhead with announcements like, stay inside, don't make any noise. Um and then after they pass, literal stampedes of these things just come rushing past, just chasing after the helicopters, and it's crazy because like you've seen them like one on one or like maybe like three, four, five of them at the most, but these are like
Yeah.
hundreds of them like rushing at crazy speeds right past you.
Yeah. That's it's a nice return to what I liked about the creatures,
Yeah,
because what I liked about them in the first one is that they hear a sound, they attack it.
yeah,
It's almost like they want absolute quiet. And it's it's a very interesting thing that they did in 2 where like they would hear like a slight noise and then kind of stalk it.
yeah.
They know, like, they had it, they knew where it was, and now they need to kind of pinpoint it a bit more. Which I guess that makes sense, like from a creature standpoint. But like there was one in the second one that got me where I was like, she literally made a loud noise on this train, and it was on the train, like she falls, and then you see one kind of like stalking up to her, and
Hmm.
like it knows, like that it knows where she is. It's literally doing the thing, like walking up straight towards her, and like kind of, it's almost like it's trying to scare her.
Yeah,
Whereas, I like the idea that they were just mindless beings that were just attacking noise. But
true.
at the same time, this movie also goes directly against that at the same time, where it's like, yes, they attack noise, like very viciously, like go after noise. Uh, but there's one scene in this movie that I liked that made them seem more like a collective rather than just kind of beasts falling from the sky.
How so?
Well, okay, so into spoilers thing right here. There's the scene where Joseph follows, well, not Joseph. Joseph is the
Is that
name.
his
Eric.
name?
Eric. No,
Oh,
Joseph is the actor's name. Eric was his name in
ah,
the movie. Where Eric uh loses track of the cat of Frodo, and like he follows him into the scaffolding area, and like you see all those things, and they're like all eating and everything, and like one of them walked up to whatever it was and kind of like prodded it, and it opened up, and he like sniffed it, and then he made like this call sound
yeah, the
that
dinner
was
bell.
like yeah, come and eat kind of thing. And I was like, oh, like they have like a way of communicate, like they communicate with each other, which
Yeah, they make like a certain sound at a certain frequency that they don't hate for some reason.
yeah,
I was
like,
really confused about that scene because first of all I thought, ew, mushrooms, because they're fucking mushrooms.
yeah.
But then I thought, oh wait, are these the eggs? Like, is this like a
That's
breeding
what I
ground or
thought it
something?
was
Because
too.
obviously this was not here before they came, first of all. So I was like, okay,
Yeah,
is this their breeding ground or something? And we're gonna see like, are they gonna give us a look at the life cycle of these things? I'm like, oh, that could be interesting because that's like an aspect of them that was not
we don't know
explored in the
about.
first two movies. Yeah, is this the eggs? Is this how they? Because that's what was really cool about the Alien movie. Like the very first Alien movie is that they gave you so much information about the life cycle and how these things function.
Yes.
Um, but we didn't really touch on that very much because like there's not a whole lot of experience you can have with these things because if any sounding you're fucking dead and they move so fast. Um
Yeah.
so that's what I thought it was gonna be. But then yeah, that thing just comes over like tears it in half, which made sound, by the way. How dare you?
Yeah.
Um, and then it just starts eating it. I'm like, wait, what? So wait, what? It's just food? It is mushrooms? First of all, ew. Second of all, how
Yeah.
dare you? Third of all, what's
Well,
the point of this? Because again,
what I was thinking,
those were not there before the things crashed. So like, did they plant them? Is that what they do? Do they like take humans? Do they like kidnap them and then like
that's what I assumed it was. Is like
ferment them or like marinate them or something?
once they started eating and stuff, like eating it after I was like, oh, these aren't eggs. Like I was I was thinking, is this what they do with people? Because we never actually see them like eat someone.
No, they just get
You would
ganked. It's
think that
too fast. It's too
like
fast.
they just kind of like snag you and like sure, fuck you. But I guess in that same vein, though, we've seen dead bodies. 'Cause that's another thing that always messes with my head about A Quiet Place is that yes, we've seen dead bodies before in this, but in areas where it seems like people's things were just left, like there's just
Huh.
stuff laying around, we don't really see people. Like, there aren't bodies piled everywhere all
Yeah,
the
no,
time.
when they attack, it's just like blood smears.
So the question, I guess, is that what they're doing with people? Maybe
Yeah. It might be
like that
something
could
we'll
be
have
a
to
really
look up.
cool. Yeah, that could be really cool.
Take a
It
look
would be cool
take a
to
look into
find
that.
like a director thing, like when it comes out on
Um
DVD.
yeah. And
Uh,
an-
Go ahead.
another thing I thought was interesting, um and you when we were talking about the movie after the fact, you brought this up before I did. I thought it was a really good angle that the main character had cancer
Yes,
because she has no driving force to survive.
he
Like,
does
it's
it.
a very different
She
because like that's the whole point of the first two movies is oh we have to survive, and then she's just like I'm already dying. I just want to go back to uh my favorite pizza place and get one last slice of pizza before the end of the world. And like
yeah,
that's literally all she's going for. And I think that's a really good like angle because like how do you like survive this without trying to survive? Like she's trying to live just as long enough as she can get like her last meal or her final
yeah.
wish
She's
before
just trying to
going out.
like relive one last memory about her dad. Is what one
Exactly.
of the big ones is. Yeah,
I thought that was a really good angle rather than oh, just people trying to survive again.
it was really cool having Eric follow her around because he's just scared. He doesn't want to be.
Yeah,
He's afraid of being alone. That's what it is. Like he's
right.
absolutely terrified of being alone in this. And she's trying to get him to go to safety or whatever. And the biggest thing about that is like at first you're thinking, oh, she just wants to be alone or whatever.
Yeah.
She wants to go eat her pizza. And at the end of the movie, you by the end of the movie you realize, oh no, she was wanted him to go to safety because she has no intention of surviving this.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was a
He
really good dynamic of and like again, spoiler, she mentioned it at the end, like he made her realize like the joys of life before she died. So like
yes,
she was just like, cause she started the movie off like this place sucks, everything sucks, the food sucks, blah blah blah, everything sucks.
I'm
And then
dying.
he brought like a little bit of light to her life again
Yeah.
before it ended, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yo, that cat though, best cat. Best cat.
Oh my god, this
Love
is
that
where we're
cat.
divided. I fucking hate the cat. The cat's a little fucking bastard.
He did almost get them killed on several occasions. I will say that. But he's
Several
a good
occasions,
boy.
multiple
He always
times. He's
comes
not a good
back.
boy. He's fucking up to the scaffolding. That scaffolding
He
scene
keeps
with the
coming
mushrooms you
back.
mentioned earlier, the only reason that guy was face to face with one of those things in the first place is because the fucking cat just ran away. The fucking cat almost got her killed in the first bit
Yeah.
in the theater. Like literally, on average, like 3 out of 5 times, so like 6 out of 10 of
Yeah.
their we almost died because of the aliens. 6 out of 10 times, it's because of the cat. It was because of that
Fair.
cat. The cat was a fucking instigator the whole movie. And I get, oh yeah, he's just a little fluffy boy. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just an animal. Right, but like, fuck him, you know? He's a little bastard. I mean, most cats are, but you know what I mean. He's causing too
I
much.
guess
He's more.
I
At what point is he
more trouble
more
than he's
trouble
worth.
than he's worth?
Yeah, that's fair. I get that. I kind of
I'm
like
gonna
the fact that
I'm gonna piss off a lot of watchers just by saying fuck the cat, you know. But like, I get it. It was a clever like vehicle to put them in certain situations. I'm just saying it happened a lot.
yeah, it was that did happen a lot. I liked having the cat. It was a very easy way. It was very clever them having the cat in the movie is what I'm saying. Is the fact that it made a way for them, like it's not just them like slow stepping the whole movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
They have some level of needing to keep quiet. Like it's not just them constantly bumbling. Like
yeah,
it's like they're trying to protect something,
yeah. And it
and
couldn't be a
that's
dog because dogs would just make way too much noise.
well,
Like cats have
not
a
a single. I'm sorry, not a single dog survived this event. I am calling
sorry,
it now.
Taylor.
There's not a dog. There's not a dog left on this planet. I guarantee it. Not gonna lie, I love dogs. Don't get me wrong. I
Well,
love dogs, but at the same
I'll
time,
I'll
they are
I'll
loud
amend that. There's
bitches.
definitely no chihuahuas left.
Absolutely no chihuahuas left. Holy shit.
There may be
It,
like
but no,
well disciplined like K9 officer dogs or like like the well trained ones.
or them ones that got them vocal cords snipped.
Oh God. If not extinct, they're endangered. But like I think a cat was a
Yeah,
nice choice because cats have like a very
they don't make a
cats
lot
have
of noise.
cats have a stealth factor.
They do, yes. So it makes sense when it's able to move around and stuff. But when it does make noise, it also makes sense. Like they didn't make it go out of its way to make noise. It was just doing
Yeah.
normal cat shit. Like the first one was, it wanted to go outside,
Mhm.
which was a really cool thing to have because it's like her service cat. And there were several moments. I loved it when he was on the leash, and I noticed this where it before she met Eric, and she's walking through the city with the cat on the leash. There's, or I guess it would be after, whatever. At some point, it's just her walking through the city with the cat on the leash. She's kind of pulling it along, like it goes to wander off, and then she kind of gives it a yank, and it changes
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah, too bad they all of a sudden wrote the leash out of the movie because then like nothing bad would ever happen.
Yeah,
Like if
the
she had
leash just
kept
kind of
that leash,
vanished.
if
The
she had
leash
kept that
vanished at some
leash
point.
again, 60% of her run-ins with the monsters would have been eliminated.
It wouldn't have been able to run away to go find Eric
It's true.
in the first place.
I guess, but like I don't know, they
But
could
yeah,
have fucking something.
yeah. Either way, it was very well done. I really liked it. It was actually kind of cool to have like a visual to that first day.
Yeah, I thought
Again,
this was
like
a
it's very interesting.
yeah, I thought this was a really strong addition to the franchise.
Yes. I'm interested to see what, if anything, they're going to do with this in the future.
Hmm.
It would be cool. I think, honestly, in my opinion, the only real progression from here on out, like from two, and then you have this, is like one where we see them, like see humans trying to like thrive instead of just survive.
Yeah,
Because now they have a way to fight back after two.
dude, Silent
So
War, A Quiet Place, Silent War. That would be
that
fucking
would be
hard.
awesome.
That would
That
be
would be a
hard. Like
dope name.
the fight back and retaking of Earth from these things, and then that's where we'll get a better look into like the species as a whole, because you'll have like a whole uh what remains of government or what remains of like freedom fighters or whatever, and they'll have as much information as they can on these things
Yeah.
which they'll share. That could be
The
cool. That's what I'd be looking for.
Yeah, that, and also because of course they're trying to, eradicate them, that's where we'll get their, how they breed, how they reproduce, things like that.
Yep,
Because they'll need to be able to take out those nests. I
I
really
think
was
that'd be a
I
good
was
idea.
I was honestly really hoping that's what that was, because I really wanted to see what a baby one of these things looked like.
Probably
Like,
smaller.
well,
Willing to bet.
yes, but it's very interesting because the other really cool thing I didn't that this really highlighted is
Yeah.
that those so they come down from the sky, like comets or whatever, and those aren't spaceships. That's just them.
No. Yeah.
Like they just fell to Earth because they're
Yeah,
just super armored.
there's a lot of questions and mystery surrounding the species. And I
Yeah,
think one more movie that'll give you a really in-depth look at how they function, what their life cycle's like, and like how they got here in the first place. I think that would be, if anything, that would be the only other thing they should add to this franchise.
yeah. Because honestly, any other stories you would do about people who are living in this or surviving in this, it's all going to be the same.
Exactly, exactly. I think if they did like I said, the Silent War, if they did like a final takedown, eradication of the species or something, and had a big battle, like finally they can fight back and just show them fight back, show them like as much of these things detailed as possible. That would be the last, if only, thing to add to this franchise.
So anyway, let's move on to the rankings. I would say.
Yeah. So I'm gonna
So
give this a very strong 7 out of 10. I think this is a again, like I said, super strong entry into the franchise. Definitely a step up from the last one. But I think this is either the like I said, I think this is either a good like cap on the franchise if they don't end up doing anything like what we suggested with the Silent War, deeper. If they don't plan on doing a deeper analysis of the aliens, I think this is a good ending point for the franchise. But I'm
yeah.
interested to see what they would do with the franchise if this is not the end.
Yes. I agree with that. I'm also agreeing with you on this. This movie is a good solid like high seven. It's I really really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great return to what I love about this franchise, and especially after the fact that, I mean, granted, I didn't watch two until like right beforehand, but the fact that they made two in the first place kind of left a bit of a taste in my mouth, a bad taste in my mouth. Like the fact that they made
Yeah.
it in the first place. But I'm glad that it seems like they have a vision. They're doing something with it. So I can give it a pass. Plus, when I watched it, it wasn't that bad. It just was a little confusing at times, honestly. But I think this
Yeah.
was a great addition, and it had a phenomenal ending. I loved the ending of this movie, and I don't even want to go into it too much because it was such a powerful ending, and I want people to go and see it.
Nice. All right. Moving on to our next movie, let's take a look at Fly Me to the Moon.
Fly Me to the Moon is sparks fly between a marketing executive and a NASA official as he makes preparations for the Apollo 11 moon landing. That is incredibly reductive for what this movie is, especially with what, like, you read this and you think it's just a rom com. You think it's just a you think that would be all it was, but people have seen the trailer for this movie. You're missing a key element from that, my guy.
Yeah. Now before we get into this, I wanna add a disclaimer. We saw this movie by accident. And what I mean by
Yes.
that is that we went to the mystery showing, which my calculations were wrong. Uh, give because all they give you for the mystery showing is the rating of the movie and the runtime, and it matches up pretty well with Sound of Hope, Story of Possum Trot, which is the spiritual successor to Sound of Freedom from last year. And we were
Yes.
hoping to see that. Um, However, it was not that. It was Fly Me to the Moon, which I was planning on cutting from next week's or our next movie days roster.
Yeah.
Because Isaac was kind of interested in it. I thought it was like, nah, not really my style, not really into it. Like just from the
Well,
trailer.
I wasn't interested enough to use my Spirited, but
Yeah,
I
that's what I
was
was gonna
interested
say.
in the
Is that
movie.
I was gonna say, like, if you want to put this on the roster that day, I'm gonna make you use the Spirited.
Yeah.
Which, for those of you new to the channel, brief introduction of that. A Spirited is a 2 times a year. We have a pass where if one of us wants to see a movie but the other one's not feeling it, they can pretty much just strong arm them and say, "Hey, I really want to see this. I'll use my Spirited," and then the other guy got pretty much got to go. Fine, we'll go see that. So, anyways, I would have made him use a Spirited if he wanted to go see this that bad, but joke's on us because we ended up seeing this anyways. Let's start with the positives about it. It
Okay.
did make me it did make me chuckle a few times.
I did.
There
We
were
want to talk about the humor because it was kind of funny, like quite often.
some of it, some of it, yeah,
It
some
had
of
good
some of
visual humor.
yeah. I think there's a few characters who had like the guy who was directing the by the way, the thing that they left out of that description is that they're faking the moon landing. Uh
Yes. So what?
so
So bit
the
of a
director of
disclaimer
the moon
on
landing,
that disclaimer,
yeah.
though. Before we go any further, though, is that it's not like they are faking it, but they're faking it as a backup in case the moon landing doesn't work. So it's not, they're still going to the moon, but they're not just faking the moon landing. Like both
Yeah,
things happen is what they're claiming.
right. So I thought the guy um who was like the director for the fake moon landing, I thought his clips were really funny. he was one of those like mean gay guys. So like he always had like a really
Yeah.
clever insult to throw at you, and I was like, damn, how do you
Some of
say
them,
that to a person?
he like absolutely eviscerated.
Yeah,
Like I wish I had paid closer attention to some of them because some of them I remember going, "Jeez."
yeah. He had a lot of really good lines. Um, I don't know. The two main characters, like, there's just not enough there for me to care, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that. They it kind of was a bit of a forced relationship, honestly, in my opinion. I didn't really care
Yeah.
too much about the romance side of this. Like, granted, I don't care for the romance side of a lot of movies really anymore these days. Like, it's
Yeah,
very
but
hard for a romantic aspect of a story to move me.
right, but at least like you get it, or you get how it would move some people, or it makes sense. But like this, the setting is really weird because it's the launch director for the Apollo 11 mission to the moon, and like
Yeah,
the marketing director who's like putting NASA stuff on like Tang and like watches and be like, this is the, the fucking underwear that they wore to the moon.
yeah, that's the other
I'm like,
crazy thing. They keep calling him
what?
he's the launch director, and I'm sitting here like, okay, well, why does it seem like he's the boss of literally everything?
Like, why is he directing the launch?
Well, not just it's okay. Like what I'm
I
trying to
mean,
say is
clear
like
he's not the head of NASA, because I
yeah,
think Ray
they,
Romano was he in charge of him? He was older.
no, he was the deputy. He was his deputy. He was the deputy launch director.
Oh damn, I thought he
But
was his
no,
boss.
no. He was the boss of him. But the like it's obvious he's not the leader CEO of NASA or whatever because they do hand off like at when they do launch the rocket and everything, they do hand off control to Houston. They don't take control back until they get to the moon.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I think that's because like most of the movie is centered around the launch itself, and he's like the number one guy for the launch. And you don't really get to see
yeah,
like the
I
other
guess.
sides and parts of NASA that are necessary for the entire company, organization, whatever they are,
Yeah.
to function. But no, I
I
get it.
will
Like he
say,
definitely seemed like the number one guy, and
yeah.
I don't know.
Like but that's where the it makes sense kind of thing kind of comes in is that like he's the number one guy, he's in charge of all of this. So of course he would butt heads with the lady who is actively trying to lie about things about the launch. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this watch is the watch the men will wear to the moon. Hang, they drink it in space. Like
And he's
things
like,
like that.
"That's not true," and she's like, "Hey, just tell him it's true."
Exactly.
I'm like, bro. See, that's one of the things that I didn't like about this, is that like at least in the like first half of the movie, is they kind of made it seem like money was one of the bigger things of why we went to the moon. It's like because her
Yeah.
being like the marketing, it's like putting putting it on Tang and Fruit of the Loom and watches and shit like that. It feels like like selling out, you know?
I get that. I didn't get the impression that money was the reason like we went to the moon because money. I
No,
read
but
that
they
as more just they needed the money because they were underfunded, so they had to do
right, but
that.
they didn't do, like, fundraising stuff or, like I mean, they went to meet with, like, government officials to get, like, their funding and backing for it, but, like, they
Yeah.
like, her whole, um, marketing tactics, it was so, like, sly and, like, dirty and, like, it just put, like, a bad taste on the
Yeah.
moon
Well, you
landing.
also have to think about the fact that they had a launch date set from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, like,
So
yeah, I get they
they
needed
had
the
to accomplish
funds
all of
for
it in
it,
like
but
6 months or something, like six,
yeah,
7 months or whatever. I think is what they said. So like it made it seem more about. I will give you that it did have it was like a lot of the stuff she did was like, dang, that's cold. That's kind of evil,
like,
honestly.
low-key scamming them.
Yeah, that's exactly what she was doing.
Yeah,
And it's I didn't like that aspect of it, but it was more of a we're on a time crunch. We need this. Let's get it done however we can. Thing.
right.
Like the fact that she's constantly saying things like that though, because they're like, "How old are you?" And they're like, and she sees the two young dudes, the two young engineers. I can't remember their names. She asks him how old she is, and he goes 28, and she's like, "We'll say 35." Like immediately. Like
Yeah,
immediately she changed the man's age because it would look better, it would play better for cameras.
it's
And
true.
she like recasts guys. Like they have the interview. He's like the guy he has my name. But moving on to one of two of my biggest positives that I like about this movie. One, I liked that I liked that they were framing it in the way of film it as a backup, as a chance something because they added the camera at the last minute.
Yeah,
So if the camera doesn't work, if something goes wrong up there, we need to have an alternate version of this to show to the American people. So that way, so that way, it still looks good. Like we still going to the moon, but if it doesn't work, we need to have something to show people. And
right.
that was that. I liked that. What I didn't like about that aspect, though, is spoiler alert right here, is that later in the movie he was like, they built this whole stage. They made it look as real as they could, so that way they could fake it if they needed to. And then he goes, "Yeah, we're just gonna film. We're just gonna show everyone this. We're just
Like,
gonna show. We're gonna
even if everything
those."
goes right on the real one, we're still showing them the fake one.
Well, that was the other thing is that they cut the camera as well. They actively sabotaged the camera that was going to be on the moon, so that way they could
Yeah,
show just this version.
yeah,
And it's really cool because it's the movie is poking fun at the idea that it's kind of ludicrous that we faked it. Like the
uh-huh.
thought of it. Because even with all the stuff that was going on, like they made that stage and everything, it's still stupid to think like why would they go to all the effort for that? Like it was just I mean, I guess it still explains it because this movie it's really interesting what this movie will do to the conspiracy theory people
Yeah.
because people will either see this movie and it will completely validate everything they think. They
They'll
will
think it's a
use it to validate
documentary.
everything. Yeah. And then there's the people that are like, "Oh, yeah, that was fucking dumb. That's like why did we ever think that was a real thing?" Or the other thought of it is that yes, they did fake the moon landing. That is the thing that they did, but we still saw the real footage anyway. And that if that isn't a testament to the human, condition or the way humans are, I don't know what that is. I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Like I liked that. It was really cool. And then the other big positive that this movie had This movie was very, very honorable to Apollo 1
Yeah.
because Apollo 1 was like until the what is it? The Explorer blew up.
I
That
don't
was the
fucking know.
big scandal. I think that was the name. I think that was the name of that rocket.
With the
'Cause
teacher on
everyone,
it?
yeah,
That's the Challenger, bro.
Challenger. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Bro,
Sorry, I
you
apologize.
fucking failed American history, didn't you?
I guess I did, but like
Man.
no one ever talks about Apollo 1. Like Apollo 1 was a failure,
Yeah.
and people did die, but everyone always focuses on the Challenger because it exploded.
That was the most recent, and it was broadcast live.
Yeah, but it's still a tragic thing to think about, and they made it a point for it to be like it's super respectful of the people that started this,
Yeah.
the brave men and women that risked their life to do this, to prove that we could make it to the stars. Like it was very well done.
Yeah.
Like
I
that I really liked.
I really don't have a lot to say about this movie. I think that's like the most I can say about it is that I don't have a lot to say about it.
About positively, I have one negative though. One big negative.
Yeah.
And the fucking main dude needs to get a fucking wardrobe. Like he wore this shirt actively pissed me off throughout the movie. You saw me get angry every single time I saw him put up. He had this thing where he'd wear a polo, but it wasn't a polo because it like
It
didn't
was like a
have buttons or
turtleneck.
nothing. It was like almost a
Was it?
turtleneck, but it wasn't because it didn't go up on his neck. Like it was just like it had like a collar, and like that collar had like stripes on it. He had like three different variations of that, and well, the one he kept coming back to was a yellow shirt where the like collar thing, except it wasn't a collar. It was like that strip around the neck of your shirts
Yeah.
where it just had
Yellow
black
collar.
stripes. It was a yellow shirt with black stripes, and I'm like, dude just looks straight up like Captain Kirk right now. And like he switches off from that shirt and back to that shirt like 5 times throughout this movie.
And
I'm like,
hey, he put on a blue one.
he did put on a blue one with yellow stripes, but it's like he either was this dude, like he had this t-shirt and like a bomber and like a leather jacket, like he looked badass, or he looked like a fucking nerd. There was no in between.
You don't want to bring up the fact that you could absolutely see his wife beater through it at all
Yes.
times.
Oh my god. You could constantly see the fact that Channing Tatum was wearing a white beater through the whole movie. Like, it's crazy. And you know what's even weirder? Like obviously back when Avengers, all that shit, when Scarlett Johansson first hit like screens, she was like the thing. She was hot at like, and I realized with this movie, she's kind of just I don't know. Like I don't really have that. Either that or it was just
Isaac
the
about to
role
call
she had in
Scarlett
this movie.
Johansson mid live on the
Kind
podcast.
of, yeah. Kind of, honestly.
Isaac, you're about to get like 9 million death threats. This is about to be our number one most seen podcast episode just because of people hate watching for you so they can find your address and kill you.
Yeah. But she
Anyways,
is. Like she's gotten mid over the years. But other than that, the movie, oh yeah. The only other thing was that they I get it, Richard Nixon was a super controversial president, but
sure.
they they constantly poked fun at him. Like they constantly shit on Richard Nixon throughout this movie. And it's kind of the timing is convenient, is what I'll say.
Isaac, this is just an excuse for everyone to finally vent out all their deep-seated Richard Nixon hate, you know?
Yeah, it's it's
That
it was
26-year-old lady who was playing the secretary, like her whole life, she just had this pit in her stomach, and she's had so many things to say about Richard Nixon. Oh, she was
yeah.
so angry with him. Now she finally got everything off her chest, so, you know. It's a good way to vent out her deep-seated Richard Nixon frustrations.
Right. But other than that, I don't really have anything else to say about this movie. Like, granted, I just said a lot about this movie. This movie as a whole wasn't much. It was an over 2 hour movie, and it
You
felt like
literally told
five.
me. You literally said to me, like, you checked your watch and you leaned over and you're just like, we're not even an hour into this. And I just, like, I fucking fake cried. I was just like, no.
Yeah,
I
like
just, like,
this movie drags. It really, really does. It takes forever to get anywhere, and
we
it's
were, we were an hour into the movie and they hadn't even brought up the
a
concept of them
faking of the moon
faking it.
landing. Yeah, it was just. It was kind of. It was honestly just kind of whatever. With that in mind, I think it's a good idea to kind of just move mosey on into the rankings.
Mosey on in.
I'm giving this movie a 5 out of 10. It had some good things that I liked the concept they were going at it. It's just it took forever to get there. So with that, it just originally I was thinking of giving this movie a 6, but it just kept going. So it just I bumped it down to a 5.
Yeah. I'm also gonna give this movie a 5. It's like perfectly mid. Like there's not enough about it that I can like congratulate it on a whole lot. Like, oh, it was good for this. They did this really well. It was just kind of there. I mean, they've been hyping it up. They've been promoting it all over the place.
Yeah,
It's one of the most popular trailers going on right now. I see it in my YouTube ads all the time. Um, but also it didn't like it didn't off or like bore me or anything. It was just, it kind of dragged, but like also there wasn't like a whole lot going on to keep at least my demographic interested. I gotta say, I came home and I told my dad, I was like, the most intriguing and exciting parts about this movie are the recycled footage from the actual moon landing.
which was also really cool. That was another plus in the column that I forgot about.
Yeah.
They used actual footage, which was really. They didn't try to recreate a lot. There was a lot that they didn't try to recreate. They just used the old footage.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to our next movie, we have A Sacrifice. Now, this movie, we did not even see a trailer for this. Um, it was literally we were looking at times for the movie day for how we can fit everything in the schedule, and we just saw this on the schedule and we're like, we have no idea what this is. Let's just throw it on for good luck. I watched the trailer like before we went in, and you had not even seen anything about it. So
Yeah,
that's
like
that's
I
where
was
we
the
were.
one who
This was
brought it
our
to your attention. Like I
yeah,
saw it and I was like, we could maybe see this one because originally we were gonna go see Horizon, but I was like, with how late we're starting and all this stuff, and we're also thinking about going to go see it with some other people.
yeah.
I was like, because it's a 3 hour movie, it's a long one.
Yeah, it's long. We had other people who wanted to see it, so we were trying to see other options for that day. And we saw this, and then you saw, you know what? We like wild cards. We like movies where we're
Well,
completely blank going in, so we threw this on
what
top.
what drew me to it is Eric Bana. I haven't seen that dude in anything since the Hulk.
Is that who that is?
Yeah, he's the Hulk from like not he's Hulk. Like the one where like the first Hulk movie. Like not the Incredible Hulk. There's the one where it's just called Hulk. I used to watch that movie all the
Mm,
time as a kid. I loved that movie.
So is Edward Norton is the Incredible Hulk, right?
Yeah, Edward Norton is the Incredible Hulk.
And
Eric
is
Bana
that the
is
what?
Hulk.
Is that the one where he fights Abomination?
Yes.
Edward Norton?
Edward Norton is that's the MCU one. Yes.
Okay, then I have not seen the Eric Bana Hulk.
Oh, okay. Well,
So,
I'm adding
so
that to a list of movies that you and I are going to have to watch at some point because I
okay,
actually actively liked that movie.
yeah, so I had no idea who Eric Bana was. Uh, but yeah, so let's go ahead and get into your description of the film, include the audience in on what we're watching here.
Absolutely. American social psychologist Ben Monroe investigates a local cult in Berlin that is linked to a disturbing event while his daughter becomes drawn into the world of a mysterious boy. I think
Yeah,
that's actually a really good descriptor of this
yeah.
movie. The
So
best one I think that we have.
yeah, that is good. So, needless to say, this world of this mysterious boy is the said cult. So, as the guy's researching the cult, his daughter is, unbeknownst to him, getting indoctrinated into it. Um,
Yeah, via this boy that she
yeah,
meets.
and not that I have much experience with cults myself, but I'm familiar with um, the steps that cults take to indoctrinate their members. You know that they have. And they've pretty much matched a lot of the points, if not all of them, perfectly in this movie. Like they really, really researched how cults work for this
Yeah,
movie. Like
how they operate and everything.
they didn't just have like people in robes in the oh yeah ooh, ah, you, weird chants
Yeah,
and sacrifice and all that. Like they really did real research on cults to make this movie, and you could feel it because like it was pretty impactful.
it really was. The the one of the better things I liked is that the leader of this cult that they had, like the lady they picked to play it, she has such a good like fake smile. Like that kind of smile where like you could assume it's genuine, but there's just something unnerving about it, you know?
Yeah.
Like it was that was done so well. I love that a lot. Um and the what was the other thing I wanted to say about this movie? The other thing I really liked about it was it wasn't her being brought into this cult. She wasn't drawn to the cult because she was lonely. She was drawn into the cult because she met a boy.
Yeah.
Like that
And
was
and
kind
they
of cool.
and they kind of sugarcoat it. Like I know a lot of people are myself included not big fans of the like climate protesters, like those people who like glue
Yeah,
their hands to like the Mona Lisa and just like sit in front of traffic. But
yeah.
that's kind of that's what the cult was about, was like climate activism. Like their whole goal
It
was
was
like
mainly about
we
overpopulation.
yeah, so like they were like human beings, we take up too much resources, even though like all earth's resources are like renewable, like food you can grow back,
Yeah.
uh air, recycles because of plants, water is
Yes.
literally comes all the way back. So I don't like. I'm not arguing the fucking overpopulation thing in the middle of this podcast, but like that's what they were going at an angle, like something feasible to draw people in, right? So they're just like,
Yeah.
hey, human beings take up too much resources, take up too much room and whatever. But their angle on that is so we gotta die, basically. So they indoctrinate people. Yeah, they have to make quote unquote a sacrifice.
Yeah.
So they got a pyramid scheme, and like each layer above, like the leaders on top, and then they have people underneath them that indoctrinate new people, like fresh recruits, and they kill off the fresh recruits, like they have them completely indoctrinate them and then convince them to kill themselves. um
Well, it's not.
and
It's not
then when
necessarily. What I like about it is that it's not that they
go ahead.
convince them to kill themselves. It's that they convince them that there is nothing left they can give to the community except serving a
The
higher
cult community,
purpose.
not the general
Yeah,
community of the
the
population
cult
community. It's
community.
the cult
They make them
community. It's like
think. They make.
you've exhausted your use to us, so you must die.
Well, it's not even that. It's like it's not that you. They don't even say like it's not like they're
Well,
straight up killing them. They are. They give them. They make them feel like their
no, no, no.
only
Like, yeah,
choice is to make that
you're right.
sacrifice.
You're right. You have done all you can for our cause, so now you must do, the your honorable sacrifice for the good of the earth is removing
Yes,
yourself from the consumption of its resources is their whole goal. And that's a really really smart angle, especially in
it is.
in today's time to do that.
One thing I have to like clap, give this movie props for is it had the balls to make a movie about a cult set place in Germany. Like it had the balls to do that, and that was incredibly well done. Like they did.
A cult in Germany. No, not that one.
No, not that one, but
No, not
you
that
get what
one.
I mean, because like that's one thing I like about Germany. Because first off, they filmed this actually in Berlin. Like they
They
actually
did,
filmed
yeah.
this in Berlin. As a
They had
fact,
a
as a matter of
German
fact,
production studio working on it, hand in hand with
yeah.
them.
Actually, do you know what the alternate? You know how like movies that have like other like versions kind of thing. Like it's
No?
released in another country,
Okay.
and then it comes here. It
Oh,
sometimes
like
has
the
a
one in
different
Germany?
name.
Yeah.
Like it's the movie sometimes has a different name. The
Yeah, yeah.
original name of this movie is Berlin Nobody.
Ooh. That would have been harder.
Yeah, it really would have
Berlin,
been.
nobody goes hard.
I like that. Um, everyone like this movie was just very well done in a lot of aspects, especially the cult indoctrination. Before we go any further, though, I was kind of judging the daughter, like the actress or whatever, and then I completely forgot. This is not the first time we've seen her be in a somewhat kind of not necessarily a strange daughter, but she played a daughter that was at odds with her dad in another movie that we saw. And I absolutely loved, and I forgot it was
Yep.
her. She's the daughter in The Whale.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she's the daughter in The Whale. That was
Interesting. I
yeah.
knew I
I was
recognized her from somewhere, but I didn't want to go Isaac mode in the middle of the theater.
yeah. No, I looked it up and I was like, oh shit! I saw The Whale on there, and I'm like, no way, she actually yeah, and she was. And they did a very good job. First off, daughter wasn't a total like pain.
Yeah.
Like she wasn't. I mean, she was just kind of average teenager. Because the whole point of this movie is that her dad and her mom and her dad separated.
Yeah.
You know, and her mom told him to leave, so he went to Berlin to do like studies and stuff like that. Because his
Right, for his
first
job.
book was what was the I can't remember the name of his first book that he was writing.
His first book was about, like, the concept of loneliness and how dangerous that can be to a person.
Yes, it is very cool as a psychologist to then also tackle like because the book he's working on now because he released that one, and the one he's working on now is the one about the dangers of groupthink,
Right, so
which
it's like
is
it's
a
like the
very cool contrast.
it is, 'cause it's like it's very dangerous to seclude yourself and be alone for so long, no man is an island. And then
Yeah,
it's also very dangerous to constantly rely on like other people thinking for you and being a part of something like that because cults can absolutely take advantage of that and
yeah.
they literally do. Um in fact, like it was like I said no man is an island and they said in the movie that a man has to be an island. They said something like that at all, and I literally turned to you and said, "Ooh, no, that is not true at all."
They said so. What they were trying to get at is sometimes you have to be an island because like it's the it's the boy that she meets who's already pretty indoctrinated already into the cult,
Yeah,
and he's he's talking to his grandmother and he's talking about like the community. All we do is good for the community. We need to start thinking together. We need to start working together instead of being separate. And she says sometimes you do have to be an island. There are some things that you sometimes you just need to be able to keep to yourself, kind of thing. She was
right.
trying
Funda
to. I took
fundamentally,
that.
yeah. So yeah, it's okay. Have your private time, have your own separate opinions, but fundamentally, islands like no when they say no man is an island. That means like desert island, not like island with bridge to it or island where people are visiting and coming and going all the time.
Yeah,
Like no man can truly be on his own because it
yeah,
does very bad things to you mentally. That's the point of the loneliness book.
yeah,
Um but yeah, again, like the contrasts in that like being in solitude completely is very bad and completely giving yourself over to a cult and a group like this is again also very
yeah.
bad.
I really liked the kind of back and forth, especially because it almost seems like a very natural progression because again his first book is on loneliness and about how dangerous it is to be alone, but it's also important to know to be aware of who you're not being lonely with.
Yeah, you have to
You need
find
to
the
make
balance between that.
yeah, and it's just it's a really cool like I would absolutely want to read that book. Like that book that he like the loneliness book, I want to read it. Like I'm sitting there watching the movie and be like, man, I wish there was a real book so I could actually read it.
Yeah, of all
And
fake movie books that they turn into real books, this should be one of them.
yeah, it was very interesting. I I don't really have anything else to say on like
Cool. I'll
unspoilery.
Well, I kind of want to keep it spoiler free cuz the only other thing I had to say is that I was incredibly impressed and blown away with all the major reveals that they made in the movie. Like there's a lot of I almost don't want to say that there's a lot of twists in the movie because I don't want people to go
Yeah,
in expecting it. But just the way that they reveal things, there was like
yeah,
3 or 4 times where they just show you something and you go, "Oh my god."
Yeah,
They restructure the events
yes.
with new information several times in
That's
this movie,
that's the other
and
thing I
each
liked.
time it's done so incredibly well and so incredibly clever.
Yeah, that is a good way of putting it. Yeah, then I can keep it spoiler free then. All I can say is definitely go see this. Like if you like that kind of, you know, cult aesthetic and like people trying to take down a cult, I highly recommend this movie. This movie was very well done that way.
Yeah, it's definitely like an underrated movie, like completely hidden gem type thing.
Yeah, like
It
it
went
flew
super.
so under the radar.
A lot of the movies this year that are flying completely under the radar have turned out to be pretty bangers. Like Sting was really good, and
Snack
it
Shack.
got Snack Shack exactly. Snack Shack, Sting, Sacrifice. A lot of the movies that are literally just like popping up out of nowhere. Deer Camp 86. They're getting like no advertising, no marketing. Only way we even found out about these is because we're looking at the movie theater schedule. A lot of them are hitting. So if we
Like
gotta take
even
away
last year,
anything from this is like if you're looking at the movie schedule and you've never heard of something, even if you're as into the movie scene as we are, where you're constantly aware, you're subscribed to Kino Check, you know all the
yeah.
movie trailers, all the movie trailers, and you find something that you've never heard of being played at the theater, go check it out. Go check it out because it seems like that's where a lot of really, really hidden gems, underrated bangers are hiding. Is at these
Yeah.
small Showtime players.
It's kind of it's a good uh lobbying standpoint for the importance of cinema over
Yeah.
streaming because in streaming you can just not watch like the amount like having a full library, a massive library like that, full of stuff to choose from, stuff like this. There are so many people that might never ever hear of it,
Yeah.
and then there's because if you're not looking for it, how are you going to find it? That's why I like when we do this, where it's like movie we haven't heard of, we have no idea what it is, but
Mhm.
it looks kind of interesting, so fuck it, let's go do that. It's it's really cool to have that, especially to see it in theaters, because again, on streaming, if you don't like a movie, you can just shut it off very easily. Or if it's not hitting right away, you don't have that instant gratification, you can just shut it off.
Yeah.
Versus, I mean, granted, there are some movies that deserve to have that in cinema where you just leave.
Yeah.
Looking at you,
Don't I know it?
Joyride.
Look at you, babes. Fucking
But
nightmare.
it's really a testament to how important it really is.
It's true.
Part of the reason why we go so often is just to see all these different things.
It's true. All right. I think we should clock this in on the rankings.
All right.
I'm gonna give this a super high 7 out of 10. I was very impressed with this. I was not expecting to get into the story as much as I did. Super good hidden gem. Highly recommend.
Yeah. I actually gave this movie an 8 out of 10. I really liked a lot of it. I mean, it's not a high 8 out of 10. It's a very low 8 out of 10. But I greatly enjoyed this movie. I thought it was better than some of the other stuff we had seen this year. The twist, like you said, the twists, just the way they reveal stuff is so good.
Yeah. All right. All right. Moving on to our next movie, we're looking at The Exorcism.
A troubled actor begins to unravel while shooting a horror film.
his estranged daughter wonder if he's slipping back into his past addictions or if there's something more sinister at play.
So, you know, fair enough. Um,
Yeah, I think
so
that's a decent summary of this movie, I would say.
right. But I think the two most important aspects of this movie is that it's number one, another Russell Crowe exorcism movie,
Yes.
because we literally just had the Pope's Exorcist last year. Um,
Was that really last year?
yes, it was last year.
Holy crap. We see too many movies, man.
Hey, we're regulars. They don't ask us what
Oh,
movies we're watching. They ask us how many. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Yo,
Uh,
we should make that the
and
tagline.
oh, dude, good idea. But the other thing about this is that it's going at the angle of like bad things that happen when filming movies like this, like The Omen, The Exorcist, Poltergeist, and Nefarious. How there's all when they start making movies about demons and taking it like seriously and stuff, like real stuff happens. Like there's like the people that died making I think it was the Poltergeist. Someone died on Poltergeist.
I believe so,
Okay,
yes.
don't quote me on that, but it's one of those it's one of the first three. Someone died in the production of making that, like the movie was cursed or something. Um, so the Russell Crowe character gets possessed by a demon while doing this movie, and that was kind of the angle here. Um, First thing off the bat, I was kind of unnerved at the beginning of this when they said which demon it was that the movie within the movie is based on, and like which one we'll be dealing with.
Yeah.
And that's Moloch, which is the
Yeah.
demon that unnerves me the most because it's literally the his entire um defining characteristic to his character is that he likes to set babies on fire. That's his whole thing, is child sacrifice and killing babies. That's like
Yeah.
his thing. Um, so of all the demons they could choose, that's probably one of the worst ones. But they counteracted that unnerving feeling I had by doing absolutely nothing, and not just with the demon, but with the movie.
Yeah, no, this movie was so nothing happened in this movie. This movie fell under the thing of it needed like well, it didn't need it because it was bad, but like it would have really benefited from like another half hour to another
Yeah,
45 minutes.
this is an hour and a half movie. It went by pretty fast.
Yeah,
Um,
which means there was no like proper plot development at all.
yeah, nothing really had room to breathe. The scenes weren't long enough for you to really internalize anything that was happening in them. Like, this is absolutely the kind of movie where you can just like start thinking about stuff in your head and just like run your train of thought around and then just like be like, oh yeah, I'm watching a movie right now, I should probably pay attention to what they're saying, because that happened to me
Yeah.
a lot.
Oh, yeah. Like they could have let some of the scenes breathe a lot more. Like one scene I wish they would have spent more time with is there's a scene in the movie where he finds the script. Because not really a spoiler alert, happens in the first like 5 minutes of the movie, but still spoilers if you don't want to know anything too much more. Uh like as he gets the role
because the guy who was originally playing the role died, like on
Yeah.
set, and they so he got the role that way. And in his trailer, which used to be the other guy's trailer, he found a copy of the script that the other guy owned, and in it were like all these scribblings and words written and all this other stuff. And like that's cool. I would have liked that, like him like flipping through it. Like that was cool. Except for the fact that they don't stay on any page more than 0.5 seconds. You can't
And they
read
got it.
jack shit.
They got it at a really shitty angle too, so you can't even like make out any of the words. I made
Like,
out like
I would have
maybe
had
2 sentences out of the whole book.
Yeah, like I would have. I kept sitting there like, man, I wish I had a pause button. Like, it's just like if they
Like
would have stopped on a couple pages, like if you would have flipped through and then saw a page and like zoomed in on it and then flipped a little more and then there's another page, and
it's
you just let it breathe for a moment on certain things.
yeah, it's really funny you bring up like the pause button because like uh just to premise this, we had the theater to ourselves for this movie. So
Well,
like
almost.
in the middle of the movie, like I was considering getting up to go pee real quick. And for a split second, I thought in my head, I was planning it out. I was gonna turn to you and say, "Pause this. I'll be right back." But then I'm like, "Wait, I can't." I was gonna say, "Hey,
Oh,
pause
that's
this real
really
quick. I'll
funny.
be right back. I just gotta go piss." And I'm like, "Oh, can't do that." So I just sat back in the seat.
You know, you said we had the movie to ourselves, but we almost had the movie to ourselves. We had this woman just like walk into the theater extremely loudly, I might add. Like there was a moment because like we're watching the movie and I hear this loud ass door creak. And I'm like,
yeah,
where's that in the movie? And then I look and it's like, no, this woman walking in. And she just like kind of looks around and then sits in a seat. She's there for maybe 10 minutes. By the way, this is an hour into the movie. Like she is here
yeah.
for the
There's
last
like
half hour of this movie. And like
not
she
even.
leaves. No, because she left 10 minutes later. Like she just walked in, sat down, and
So
just filled up her cup holder full of tissue paper and then left. Like what?
it only exists to make the cleanup job worse.
I guess.
So she like I saw the door creak open and the light happen, and she didn't step through the door. So like the door just creaks open, and I look over immediately. I'm just like, what? What is? Is it? Oh, is it one of the employees just checking in on the theater? Because they do that.
Yeah,
Um.
they do.
And then and then I just see her like slowly like glide in, like just like her face into the theater. So like you just see like the front of her from my angle, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what is hi? And I'm like, oh. 'Cause my thought is, first of all, the theater we were in had the poster for the Watchers outside, but it said the
Okay.
Exorcism. And the theater right before that one had the poster for the Exorcism, but it was showing the Watchers. So I'm like, oh, maybe she went to the wrong theater or whatever.
Yeah.
Or she was seeing a different episode or showing of the Exorcism and just went to the whichever one said Exorcism on it. And then she enters and she goes all the way to the back row behind us.
Yeah.
So then I think, oh, she must have just left her keys or hat or purse or something here from the last showing. And then she comes like down the stairs and goes into the row in front of us and then just sits down. I'm like, does she not realize that we're like mid climax of this movie? I use the word climax lightly, but like it's very clearly not the first few minutes of it opening. I'm like, she's gotta know, right? And then and then she just gets up and just walks out.
Yeah, she just leaves.
So I'm like, I guess eventually she figured it out.
Yeah, like it was it was
It was
so weird.
bizarre.
Like she was just like and the fact like this shows you how like by the way, because we haven't said it, movie was bad. The movie was so bad that
Movie
like
was bad.
that was that
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 was
was
the
more
highlight.
yeah, that was more entertaining than the movie because we were more confused by that.
I was more scared that she would do something than something would happen on the screen.
So
Uh,
just just uh just know this. When I looked up the Google like summary for
Yeah.
this, right next to it in a big letter, because you know they have the Google reviews that people use,
Oh yeah.
it has a 1.7.
Ooh. Ooh, that
It,
hurts.
and it's
That
really
hurts.
funny. It's really funny because I just paged through the reviews, and most of them that give it 2 stars only gave it 2 stars because Russell Crowe is in the movie.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. He's the best thing about this movie. I like Russell Crowe. He was super good in Land of Bad because I think
Was.
he actually cared about that movie and put effort into it. I think this one he knew it was a stinker, so he kind of phoned it in. But I mean, honestly, I think he should just become a voice actor
Yeah, he should, because
because
the
his
parts where it was his voice were
uh
so good.
the scenes where they were like filming something for the movie and he was doing line reads, like he's got a very like distinct and like impressive voice tone. Like I
Can I get an
liked a lot of
audio
the
book?
line readings.
Can I get an
Yeah, I would
audio book of Russell Crowe reading the Bible?
yeah, I would listen to Russell Crowe reading the Bible with like he's got to have the accent that he used for the Pope's Exorcist, like that Italian, the gravelly Italian, you know? If
Yeah,
he
like
read the whole Bible like that, I would buy that on like Audible, you know.
he has such a good voice. Like the moments where it's just him, like you
Yeah.
just hear his voice talking, were really good. Like I'm sitting there and I'm like, ooh, that's really like that. That's like it filled me with chills. But like a lot of it, again, just back to the movie itself. Like
Yeah.
the pacing of this movie was way off. Like the amount of things that were just weird because they jump around a lot. Because like it starts with they're filming the movie.
Mhm.
Day one, he's kind of messing stuff up a small bit and like all this other stuff. And by like day 11 of shooting, like because they just jump to day 11, and then he starts just doing weird shit. And like his daughter is his daughter is keeping like she's attributing that to his addiction that he had.
I
And
I gotta say, his daughter is dot 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 is probably the best the best thing I can say.
yeah,
Cause
like she was kind of a nothing character, honestly.
dude, I was gonna say if you had nothing else you really to say on that, I was gonna jump into the daughter character. Um, she is supposed to be like she's the main character, which first of all is I think is a mistake. Definitely Russell Crowe should have been like the point of view character. I think this movie would have worked a whole lot better as kind of a I'm losing control of myself from the point of view character, like self destruction, like
Yeah,
and he gets like comparisons to his addictions and his past to what's happening now instead of just the daughter walking in the room and he's wearing eyeliner, and then she just goes ah, and then he says something vaguely mean to her, and then walks away. If this was like if it was focused on the Russell Crowe character, and it was about more of him like losing more and more of himself to this demon taking over his body, I think that could have been played much better.
Yeah.
But the daughter does absolutely nothing in this movie. I think ultimately she may have done like one thing that was kind of helpful.
Hmm.
And that's like the only reason why I'd say like why I wouldn't say that you could take her out of the movie and it would be exactly the same, is because she does literally one thing. But you could literally make anyone else do that one thing, and then you could get rid of her entirely. Because her character sucks. Okay? She she's unlikable. There's no reason for me to care about the daughter character at all. At least Russell Crowe, you get like his dialogue with the pastor that he's doing confession with, so you get more of how he's thinking in his head. So they kind of a little bit bounce back and forth between his perspective and the daughter's perspective, but the daughter has no perspective. Like,
He does.
I know nothing about this daughter other than she got kicked out of school, and like I have no idea about
The
anything.
only other thing you know about her is she's gay, and that's it.
Oh yeah, they made that sure. Like, and you knew they just threw that in there for brownie points because it's literally irrelevant to the story at all.
It is. Like, they did it, and like they made it also be the reason why she got kicked out, like why she's even there in the first place, because she got kicked out of her school for throwing red paint on the dean's car or whatever, because he fired his the guidance counselor for marrying her girlfriend.
Yeah.
And it's a Catholic school. It's a Catholic boarding school.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Well,
reserve the right
I
to do
believe
that.
it was called like Saint Margaret's or Saint
Saint Agnes.
something or other. Saint Agnes Margaret, whatever. So it was Saint something. So I'm led to believe it's a Catholic school, and like this is a real life thing. Like Catholic institutions or like any religious institution has the ability to fire someone whose goals or views or what was the word I'm looking for? Values don't align with that religion.
Yes.
Like nothing personal. It's just like if it's like if you're not aligned with Catholicism, why are you working at a Catholic school?
Yeah, like it's that kind of thing. And but moving past that, it's just the daughter, she doesn't do much other than just kind of
She's just snarky.
yeah, she's like she constantly has an attitude. Like, I get it. Like, I I understand it from the point of view of like, I mean, her dad, went through something. He wasn't the best kind of person when she was growing up. Kind of
Oh,
left her
but
to
like
deal with
at
her daughter,
least
with her mother's death by herself. Like, I get
I
like
think
the
she's
thing, like she
got
doesn't call her dad. She calls him Tony through the whole movie.
yeah, she calls her dad by by his first name, and I thought there was gonna be a scene where she like calls him dad, but that doesn't happen. That
The
probably would have
closest
been
you
nice.
actually get to it is like the ending scene of the movie. She
Yeah,
sends her dad. She sends him a rough draft of her script or whatever that she's writing, and it's
and
addressed to dad.
in parentheses Tony, so she's still calling him
Yeah,
Tony.
yeah.
Which, calling your dad by his first name all the time is always a bad sign. Just
Yeah.
not like, oh, they don't have a good relationship. It's like, no, that's just bad for you personally to do that.
I will say that is the only other thing. Like, there's only maybe 3 moments in this movie that I like. And
Yeah, let's talk
that
about the good. There's maybe some positives here. Let's talk about
yeah.
those.
The one directly related to what we were just talking about is like earlier in the movie when she first comes home from school or whatever. She's calling him Tony and he's trying to talk to her and he goes, "It's not Tony, it's Dad." Kind of thing. And
Yeah.
later when he's possessed by the demon, like when he's starting to get possessed by the demon, like he's in
Yeah.
her room and as he leaves, like she's like, "Tony, get out." And he just goes, "It's not Tony." And he leaves. And I liked that. I was like, ooh, because like
Yeah, you
she
get
said it's just like,
it's not the dad, it's the demon.
yeah, like it's not, but like she would probably see it as like it's not, it's Dad kind of thing. Like it's a
Yeah.
nice like I thought that was okay. You took this premise that I didn't like and made it at least make sense, and you used it
Mhm.
in your movie, so that's fine. You
Right.
made it an advantage in it, so I was okay with it. Uh, what was one of the ones you liked?
Ugh, the only good scene in the movie,
Yeah,
at least horror aspect wise. So after the uh after Russell Crowe's character kind of bows out and like he it was in the trailer. He like cracks his spine in half. He does like this possession uh theatrics like in front of everybody, so he's in the hospital so they can't use him anymore. So
yeah,
they got to hire a new guy to do it. And so the director uh one of the co-stars he asked him to fill in, and then while the fill-in is like looking in the mirror doing his makeup costume whatever and like going over some of the lines, um the demon appears in the mirror and bursts his hand through the mirror to grab around his throat, and as he does that, the glass shards get embedded in the guy's eyeball and face, and then he chokes him
yeah.
out and then just leaves him to just collapse into a slump at the vanity in just a big mound of blood and pulp and glass. And I that was the first like horror thing, like, oh, that was good. That was good. Because it wasn't just like a bah jump scare for no reason like they did a bunch of times. Um like all horror movies do. But it was actually
It
something
was
like,
like
ooh, that
super sudden.
yeah, it was sudden, so it got you like the jump, but then also they like what it does, like just like you're being grabbed by the throat by a demon with glass in your face. It looked cool, like it was a unique kill. Like I thought that was probably the best thing horror wise in this movie, and it was about like maybe 30 seconds long.
Well, the best part about it is because it's a horror movie, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Uh, like he's doing the scene, like lights are flickering all around, and you're hearing voices and stuff, and like the dude's doing lines in the mirror, and so what you're expecting is to like see him pop up behind him or
Yeah.
seeing something pop up behind him, but no,
But
it's
no, it
just
just
bursts through the mirror and just like chokes him out and like just leaves him there,
yeah.
and then he's
That
just
was probably the
gone.
best scene in the movie, horror wise and
Yeah,
creative wise. Um
yeah. The only other scene I had that I thought was like decent was the opening scene for the movie.
yeah,
Like the dude doing lines and stuff. Like I like the
walking through the
idea of
house.
yeah, like the actor walking through his lines and everything. Like he's kind of getting in the mindset, you know.
Like, oh,
He's
go over here, blah 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 blah, and then move through to this room, and then I say this.
Yeah.
Like just kind of prepping himself in the head. And then he gets attacked by the demon and thrown off of like the third story thing. I did like that when Russell Crowe and his daughter show up, that they added like guardrails along those rooms so that you couldn't
which
fall off. But like
which
I feel like they
it
should
should
have
have
like
been there in the first place.
well, I mean, it'd probably be easier to film around that if they're not there. But like the fact that they added them in, I feel like they should have like maybe just like one zoom shot, like close up on it at like a angle or something, just to kind of like really reel you in. Like, oh, they put up guardrails because of what happened earlier in the movie that they don't know about yet.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I feel like I like that they did that aspect, but I feel like they could have bumped it up just a little bit.
Yeah, but once once the demon starts like setting into Russell Crowe's character, the movie picks up the pace by like 1,000%.
I mean, kinda. It's still
Like,
like
okay,
pretty dry the whole time. But I know what you mean. Like the first 40 minutes are a slog to get through. Like
yeah,
nothing happens.
but the moment that it starts like obviously like, you know, demon voice and start stuff like that starts happening,
Yeah.
like the rest
Like
of the movie, like after that possession scene you were talking about, where he like
yeah,
does the possession
after
theatrics.
that it's kind of watchable, but like
I'm not even
that's
saying
a
it that way. It's just the movie speeds through that so fast.
oh, you mean like not in like enjoyment or like whatever, but like pacing.
Yeah, that's what I was saying is
Yeah.
pacing. Like
Yeah,
the movie
no.
speeds up like insanely fast.
No,
Like
yeah,
I'm like,
you're right.
wait,
Like
hold up,
they
wait, wait, hold on, we're here now. Like, why are we here now? And like the other thing is, this is a point I wanted to bring up. Yet again, they tried to make an exorcism movie without God, in the sense that like
well,
they somehow they made this like where the demon is the bad guy, yet also the church is the bad guy, because like the whole movie it's bringing up stuff of like what a priest did to him when he was a kid.
yeah. Yeah.
Like
It's a easy target. Catholic priest touching the boy. Yeah, everyone makes that joke so many times. It's not even like
it didn't even make sense because he was
clever
at least a teenager
at
at that
all.
point. Like if you're
Yeah.
gonna make the joke, like
He said he was
hit it
12.
home. No. Like it's I didn't like that aspect because even when they are talking about God or anything like that, like the priest they got to do it was so uninspired. Like he did jack all in this movie. Like
Yeah, they
at
kind
one
of got
point
like
he
a cut
tells her
priest. Like he
they told him to he told them to pray once, and that was about
yeah.
it. Like they didn't even do the whole like, oh, we need a sanction from the Vatican and all this crap. Like I think he might need an exorcism. Nah, they just jumped straight to trying to exorcise the dude. And that was it. And like even that, we didn't even get the normal scene.
Yeah.
Like we just got like daughter picks up Bible and like starts trying to read from it, and then priest like sacrifices himself. Like he does the thing from The Exorcist where he like takes it into himself, and then
Hmm.
they kill the priest.
That's
Like,
what I understood. They
like
just
that's
killed
what
the
it
priest.
was.
They stabbed
Like
him.
it was kind of the movie ended so abruptly. I'm like, that was it.
Yeah.
Like, I made you use a spirited for this, and I feel like I was warranted to do so.
You were, and I'm fine with that.
Like
And I'm
the
fine not
only
getting that back.
yeah, the only good points of this movie really were just Russell Crowe being in it, and even he phoned it in. Like it was just kind of whatever. Like I do
Yeah.
have to say, one person, the one thing about this movie, at least Andy Goldberg or whatever the hell his name, or Adam Goldberg,
Adam
is
Goldberg.
like at least he's still being super consistent about being a jackass in all of his films.
That's true. All right.
It's like
I think
that,
we've.
that was another thing I wanted to bring up actually real quick.
Oh, go
Was
ahead.
like because like his character was such a jackass. Like he's trying to motivate Russell Crowe's character to
Oh my
like
god.
do the movie and like do it
Yeah.
right. I want you to do it right. And he literally leans in at one point and goes like, I think those hope those priests fucked some common sense into you when you were a kid. Like, holy
Yeah,
fuck,
he's like,
dude.
use some of that. He's like, use some of that energy that those guys fucked into you when you were a kid. I'm like, fuck says that to a person.
Like he literally is sitting there like you are this character. You're irredeemable. You did all this stuff in your past. Like
You got your wife killed. It's like, why?
you let your wife sit and die while you did drinking and snorting coke and drugs and finding pussy and all this stuff. And I'm just like, what the hell? Like, who the fuck
Bro,
says this to a dude?
bro is the anti-therapist.
Like, I'm like, you're actively making this man worse. Like, this is awful. And like
And you know
constantly
what
shit
else?
talking the dude in front of his daughter.
Yeah, like his daughter's in there like getting him coffee or whatever. She goes, it's like, oh, here's your coffee, and he's just like, man, this guy fucking sucks. No wonder his wife's dead and his kid hates him. Anyways, bye. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
she's right there.
Like one of the other PAs literally goes, "I'm sorry," as they're walking
Like,
out.
yeah, I'm sorry. And I'm like, yeah, you better be sorry. Like, damn. I'm like,
Yeah.
like I'm thinking in the movie, I'm like, I know the demon's the bad guy. But is he the bad guy of this movie?
Yeah. Like it was just it was just not coherently put together at all.
Yeah.
Like this movie.
Yeah. I don't feel like the people that made this movie had a whole lot of faith in it. Um.
Which is ironic since it's a movie
Yeah.
about it's a movie that should be about faith,
Yeah.
honestly.
This is it's happening a lot this year with super interesting premises. Like this, like Watchers, like Argyle, like stuff that looks really good and really interesting, or just like, oh, I like that idea. I want to see how they carry that out. And like Dream Scenario, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was last year, but still. And then they either don't give it the proper like
They don't do it
resolution,
justice.
or they don't treat that good premise with the good like story at all. Like
Yeah.
they just kind of like flounder their way through it, and it's like, all right, whatever. Like I think if cuz like like Russell Crowe was giving them lines and I'm like, that's a good take, and the guy's just like, no, this take's fucking trash, do it again. I'm like, man, maybe if like they had that kind of mentality in the writers room, maybe the movies would be better. It's just, or because it's kind of just like, yeah, whatever, that line's okay. Yeah, whatever, that plot point's okay.
Yeah.
This character doesn't have any redeeming qualities or any personality whatsoever. But yeah, whatever. It's fine. Send it out.
The amount of times in the past year or so that you've turned to me and been, all right, here's a better version of this movie that we just watched.
It's yes, because it's And I don't think it's just me. I just think like from the common like moviegoer can just on the fly like come up with a way better alternative than what they're throwing out in front of us. Like I didn't even like think of that until like mid recording here, like, oh, if they had like from Russell Crowe's character and it's more about like him losing himself,
Yeah.
not only like physically to the demon but like spiritually to, you know, his addictions and to the demon or to the faith or whatever. I like it would be way better to see the internal battle inside him rather than just using him for jump scares
Yeah.
in a chair. You know what I
Like
mean? But like
they keep making movies like this with characters that don't have faith to begin with.
exactly. And
And
it's kind of like oh, that's the point. Like they learn to get faith, but like no.
yeah, like it just wasn't thought through properly. Frank, we've been talking on this for a while, and I don't really have
More
much else to say about it
more than
before.
it deserves. More than it deserves. Let's head over
Yeah,
to the rankings.
yeah. I'm giving this movie a 3.
3.
I like it. Just I didn't find it very good. Like I originally was gonna give it a 4 for Russell Crowe, but honestly, I don't think it even deserves that at this point. I mean, it's a 3 for Russell Crowe, honestly, at this point. Like it just wasn't very well put together, and they didn't put a lot of effort into it, in my opinion.
It's true. I'm also gonna give this movie a 3. It was really, really hard to sit through that first like 40 minutes, and then after that, they just really didn't have the impact to, you know, mean anything, and they kind of just don't get what they're doing here. I mean, props to Russell Crowe. He got that bag, I guess. Um, but like they kind of need to stop doing like demon possession movies. I mean, Nefarious was great because they did something different and they did something real, but like all these ones where someone's possessed by a demon, they're all the same and they're all terrible, and because it's all the exact same plot points, exact same premises, and they all do the exact same things, and it's just boring. It's just boring.
Exactly. That's the perfect word to say, is that it's just boring.
Yeah. I it pains me to say this because this movie was bad too, but The Pope's Exorcist was way better than this.
Yeah, like at least that was entertaining.
Yeah, at some points. It was funny for one thing. Like even parts that like you weren't supposed to be laughing at, like fucking Russell Crowe riding around on his little moped, like that was funny. I got enjoyment out of that. I didn't get even any accidental enjoyment out of this movie. All right, that'll do it for that movie and actually wrap up the podcast here. Next time, we actually have a lot of movies coming in July, so next time we might be able to split it up into 2 podcast episodes again. On our docket, we aren't sure exactly where this is going to line up, if we're going to be able to see anything, or if anything else catches our way, so, disclaimer here, but we'll be shooting to look at Despicable Me 4, Sound of Hope, The Story of Possum Trot, Kill, Maxine, Long Legs, and Horizon Part 1. Like we say all the time, January and February are the weakest months for movies theaters, but the summer are the strongest months.
We have a lot of movies coming ahead, so be sure to stick around. Be sure to subscribe because it really keeps us going, helps us work towards our goal of finally getting these podcast episodes monetized so we can use that money to make more episodes and buy more movie tickets to keep this going. Be sure to check out both of our Letterboxd accounts at Cinema Kellen and Regular Isaac. And until next time, guys, that's a wrap. Roll credits.